anything.
So we're learning on set of Pesachim, Daf Mem Zayin 47. The third chapter is, the name of the chapter is Elu. Yom Tov. The name of the chapter is Elu.
Regards to Debbie. Thank you.
What building are you in?
Huh?
What building?
Brighton.
You're in Brighton?
Brighton. I got the shots yesterday.
Yeah? You seem fine.
We'll see how you are tomorrow. You go tomorrow?
No.
You should see the mess that. I mean,
That's why I'm not
it was the first day, but now they got organized.
Yeah.
They got
My
organized.
wife said she's going to take it.
So
She's not?
Well, she said she is. And
You just talked to
in
the
the
Some of
previous
my friends
discussion,
do
Rav Chisda asserted that under biblical law, the needs of Shabbos may be prepared on Yom Tov. Rabbi takes issue with this rule that under biblical law you can prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Esive, they challenge Rav Chisda from the following Mishnah. How can you make the statement? Look at Lechem Aponim. Lechem Aponim is a showbread. Necha latisho laso lachadoso is eaten on the 9th day, the 10th day, or the 11th day after it is baked. But you cannot eat it on the 8th day or on the 12th day. In its usual case, the lechem aponim is eaten on the 9th day as follows. Nefa berev Shabbos, it is baked on Friday, on the eve of the Shabbos. Nechal b'Shabbos letisho, and eaten on the Shabbos of the following week, which is the 9th day after it was baked. Chal Yom Tov berev Shabbos, but if Yom Tov falls on the eve of Shabbos, it is baked on the previous day, meaning it is baked on Thursday. Nechal Shabbos la, so it is eaten on the following Shabbos, which is the 10th day after it was baked. Shnei Yom Tov shel Rosh Hashanah, but if the 2 days of the Yom Tov of Rosh Hashanah falls on Thursday and Friday, it is baked on Wednesday, and then it is eaten on the 11th day. Nechal Shabbos lechado, so we find that the showbread was eaten, lechem aponim was eaten on the following Shabbos, which is the 11th day after it was baked. Why? The baking of the lechem aponim is advanced in the above circumstances because it overrides the prohibition of neither. It does not override, so just write it in this way, because it overrides the prohibition of neither the Shabbos nor Yom Tov. Okay, so baking the lechem aponim does not override Shabbos or Yom Tov. That's why.
We know that because he has to prepare it when it's specifically not a Yom Tov.
Or Shabbos.
So you would ask the question, why not to bake it on Sunday or Monday or Tuesday? So it tells you that there is a rule. It can be eaten only in the 9th, 10th, or 11th.
Right.
So
they
the 11th can happen only Rosh Hashanah.
They bake on the Erev Shabbos, so then...
For Rosh Hashanah falls on Thursday,
Friday.
so they have to bake on Wednesday. Regularly falls on. They bake it on Friday, and they would eat it the following Shabbos. So make it the 9th day.
So they do that on Rosh Hashanah?
No, but if Rosh Hashanah falls on Thursday, so Thursday, Friday is Rosh Hashanah, and since the baking of the showbread does not override Yom Tov or Shabbos, so that's why you have to do it on Wednesday.
Okay, so they do it on Wednesday. They could.
A week and a half later.
9 days later would be Erev Shabbos.
Right, so they would eat it 11 days later. That's the latest time.
Okay, okay, so they would be eating it on the Sunday, the second Sunday.
Remember why?
Shabbos,
No, they're not. I tell you why. Because when they eat it, they have to place another set of bread. So how can they put another set? They can't bake on Shabbos, so they only can eat it on Sunday. They can only eat it on Sunday because
they replace it. When did they replace it? They replace it on Sunday also?
If Rosh Hashanah falls out,
it
ends up Yom Kippur is on Shabbos.
They replace it when they place the other set. I think it was he gave us the breakdown.
It says it's eaten on
with
Shabbos.
12 loaves of bread that were placed on the shulchan on the temple and remained there from Shabbos to the next. On the second Shabbos, they were removed from the shulchan. But when did they make the other batch?
Making, we understand, before Yom Tov we had to make it.
Right,
but they ate it on Shabbos.
Okay, so it says they remained from one Shabbos to the next. On the second Shabbos, they were removed from the shulchan and replaced by 12 other loaves.
on
They were
Shabbos.
then eaten by the Kohanim.
Right. Certainly
So-
baked beforehand, but replaced and eaten on Shabbos.
What is okay? And what was the? It says Nechal Tishlo Chazo, including the day it was baked. So what? Where? How is it
That's
9? How is it 9 days? So if from Friday,
Friday is 9 days, because
from Friday to Friday is 8 days, right? And then
And
Shabbos
Shabbos
is
is
the 9 day. So if they baked it on Friday, the new batch, they did not place it yet on the table.
right,
They
had
kept
in
it
a
in
shelf.
another table, another place, and only
In a
then
bread
they.
box. Put in those cardboard boxes.
So why the Gemara is bringing it? What they're trying to tell us? What's the point of it? So they're trying to
that
say
you can't prepare on Yom Tov, even for
on Yom Tov for Shabbos. How did you of Chisda say that it's a biblical law that you can bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos? That
L'chaim,
is,
l'chaim, Besoros
L'chaim.
Toivos.
So amen. So itmar oifim Yom Tov l'choil, regarding one who bakes on Yom Tov for weekday use, Chisda Amar Leiki, Rabbi Amar Leiki. So if you're baking from Yom Tov to a regular day, according to Rav Chisda, you're being whipped. According to Rabbi, you're not being whipped. Rav Chisda Amar Leiki, Rav Chisda says, you incur lashes while Amrina Noil Meklai Leochim Chazal. We don't say Hoil. Right? We learned it yesterday. We don't say, oh, he probably going to have guests. Or since he can have guests, then we should not get lashes, because could have been that he had guests and then he can serve them what he baked on Yom Tov. And Rabbi says he's not like it because we do say ho'il, amrina no'il, okay? Since he might have guests. Amar le Rabbi Chisda le'didok damat le'amrina no'il, according to you that you said, Rav Chisda, that we don't say ho'il. Yom Tov l'Shabbos. How are we allowed to bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos? The only reason why you're allowed to bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos, according to Rabbah, because we do say ho'il. We say since he possibly can have guests. So he really baked it for Yom Tov, but it ended up that he didn't have guests. So now we can eat it on Shabbos. So he answered him, no, it's not. It wasn't the case. It was because of Eruv Tavshilin. You remember that discussion? That
we had that yesterday. But
So going back to us, to what back to this concept of today. So he says, when it comes, what do we learn from this whole thing of lechem upon it? We saw that we don't bake it on Yom Tov or Shabbos. Amar lei. So the question is, v'yomar tzorch Shabbos nasim b'Yom Tov. If you tell me that the need of Shabbos may be prepared in Yom Tov, amay l'doch Yom Tov, why does it not override the prohibition of Yom Tov? If tzorch Shabbos, which is, like you said, it's eaten on Shabbos, so tzorch Shabbos is the need of Shabbos. It's a necessity of Shabbos. Why shouldn't override Yom Tov? So if Yom Tov falls on Friday, let them bake it on Friday. Let's bake the lechem upon. Why are pushing it? Why are we?
But if you make an error, if you can, right? Well, then I can talk about that.
No, it says in general, and not in lechem aponim. In lechem aponim, it's not. In general, we are right. In your regular Yom Tov, we bake from Yom Tov on Shabbos. But when it comes to lechem aponim, we don't. We just we bake it a day before. So the Gemara says, Amar lei shvus kroivei tiru. They permitted a rabbinic injunction for an immediate purpose. Shvus rechoy kolei tiru. But they did not permit a rabbinic injunction for an eventual
Oh,
purpose.
so you can bake it on Yom Tov for Yom Tov, because that's immediate
No,
purpose.
Yom Tov and Shabbos is also immediate because it's very close. Yom Tov and Shabbos, but over here it's 9 days after.
Right.
That's the koiva and the injunction, yeah.
Therefore, you can't do it on Yom Tov.
So Rabbi Shin Gamliel Da'am Rishon B'Shimon Ben Asgan Doiches Yom Tov and Doiches Yom Tzoim. It says it is the baking of the lechem aponim overrides the prohibition of Yom Tov, but does not override the prohibition of the fast day of Yom Kippur.
That's according to whom?
Rabbi Shimon Ben Asgan. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel says this statement in the name of Rabbi Shimon ben Asgan. It says that the baking of the lechem aponim overrides the prohibition of Yom Tov. Meaning, according to Rabbi Shimon Asgan, you're allowed to bake the lechem aponim on Yom Tov. The only time that only Yom Tov that does not override is Yom Kippur. Meaning, you're not allowed to bake the lechem aponim on Yom Kippur. So let's say Yom Kippur falls on Friday, then you would have to bake the lechem aponim on Thursday, according to Rabbi Shimon ben Hasgan. Rabbi Shimon, the son of the deputy, that's how they called him. Hasgan is the
second in charge.
The second in charge. Yeah. Ma'ika. So it says, Ma'ika lemeima. What is there to say? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel holds that one does bake the lechem aponim on Yom Tov. So we see that the rabbinic injunction was waived even for an eventual purpose, even for something that is eventual. It's not going to happen right away. So the Tana of the Baita and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel differ about this very issue. Mar sovar shvus kroive tiru, shvus rechoiko lo tiru, umar sovar shvus rechoiko nami tiru. One, the Tana Kama said that they permitted rabbinic injunction for an immediate purpose, Shabbos to Yom Tov, Yom Tov to Shabbos, but shvus rechoiko injunction for an eventual purpose they did not permit. They permitted a rabbinic injunction. So according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, even shvus rechoiko they permitted, even eventual purpose, eventual outcome, eventual purpose they permitted. Okay, there's two ways or two faculties of how to look at this case. Either shvus rechoiko they did not permit, only shvus kroivo, and one opinion says that even shvus rechoiko they permitted. So another challenge to Rav Chisda's view that it is biblically permitted to do melacha on Yom Tov for the Shabbos. So it's not that arguing that you're not allowed to do melacha on Yom Tov for Shabbos. They're arguing if it's biblically permitted to do melacha on Yom Tov for the sake of Shabbos. That's the opinion of Rav Chisda. So that's why the Gemara keeps on challenging it. For Yom Tov. The question is from Yom Tov to Shabbos. Rav Chisda says that it's biblically permitted.
But if you shecht on Yom Tov, you will not finish the
No, but like we learned yesterday, even if you eat a kazais for that day, it's okay. Meaning, you shechted on Yom Tov because you were hungry, you wanted to eat a kazais. Remember the case about, there was a case of an animal that is about to die.
Yeah, so
he,
right away.
She shecht, yeah, but if he can't eat it, it's a problem.
Yeah.
That's where this whole thing of oil came into the picture since, because you can say, well, since he can eat a kazais, even though he's full, he can still eat a kazais, it might be okay. So to bake for Yom Tov or to cook for Yom Tov on Yom Tov, there's no problem because you're eating it on Yom Tov, even if you're not going to finish. By the way, halachically, you're not allowed to make too much if you know you're not going to eat it. You're allowed to make extra, but to do too much, it's also a problem. So, where are we? Masiv Rav Mari, Shtei Lechem and Cholois, Loi Pochos Mishnaim, the Shtei Lechem. What is the Shtei Lechem? It's the breads that were offered on Shavuot. It's called Shtei HaLechem.
Right.
The two loaves that was brought on Shavuot. It says in 13, the Shtei HaLechem, 2 loaves of bread, was a communal offering brought on the Yom Tov of Shavuot. These loaves were waved together. They did the waving with 2 communal shalomim offerings and were eaten by the Kohanim after the blood service of the shalomim offerings was completed.
What's this whole idea of waving anyway? They wave meat, they wave the breads, they wave people, they wave the, what's his name? Korach, they wave him.
For someone who learns Hasidus, should be easy to understand the idea of uplifting, elevating, raising it above the material world, taking it to the 4 corners of the world, Chesed, Gevura, Tiferet, all the corners.
Our Rabbi Menashe have the same thing.
Right?
That I understand. 'Cause
Why do
that's,
you not understand
that's
the
all
other
over the
stuff?
place.
Why do you don't understand this?
Because he
So I
never
know-
went to the Beit HaMikdash. He
Cause-
saw this.
Because
Yeah, hold on,
to me, when I
but
pictured
then-
waving, I'll tell you why.
But then you go.
Because I pictured waving as back and forth.
No,
But
but-
if it's,
no,
if it's like then, if
yeah.
it's like really in 6 directions, then I
But
understand.
look,
Yeah.
you do when you do Hamasei Lechem Menorahs on Friday night. You hold up you hold it up
It's
like
true.
this together. And
Do you
then
wave
put
in
it
6
down.
directions?
And the Kos Yain also.
Right.
Friday night, do you
right.
wave in 6 directions, Rabbi?
Friday night.
No, we don't do that 6. We just hold it up and then we'll put it down. And we
That's
use
elevating it, right.
Are they a cup of wine?
a cup of wine
No.
like this. It is.
What are you talking about?
Now I gotta go back to lefty.
The bread.
Oh no, just pick it
So
up.
it's all just elevated.
Yeah.
No, but you just
But this is a good point. That's the shtei halechem, the 2 loaves.
Right.
Raising.
right.
So maybe we should do that in 6
No,
directions.
you can do that, but I mean,
Your wife can make it next time she makes
It's
it.
not-
Actually, it says in the right loaf should be a little bit higher than the left. There's
That's what we put on the table, right?
even regulations in
Everything. How to pick your nose.
rules and
everything.
You
regulations.
have a bigger one, you have to do the bracha, eat the bigger one, yeah?
right.
Depends if it's the daytime, the nighttime.
Also depends.
You know which one I always pick?
Whatever.
Well, Mrs. Pollock says, this one. Like this one, she heated up a little bit. Or she has an idea always. So I always go, which this one? Okay.
Mine also does.
That's the right.
So-
That's the correct one.
Right.
Always.
So shtei halechem ein echad ha'pachas mishnayim. So to shtei halechem, you cannot eat it by yourself. It has to be minimum 2. I'm sorry.
Like this,
Shtei halechem which are offered on Shavuos are eaten not less than 2 days, not 2 people, 2 days after they are baked.
And not more than 3 days.
But not v'lo yaseh shlosha, not more than 3 days. Ketzad. So how was it? How so? Nefesh of Yom Tov, they were baked on the eve of Yom Tov Shavuos, as in the usual case. Necholos Yom Tov Shnaim, they're eaten on the Yom Tov of Shavuos. That is the second day. Chal Yom Tov lios achar Shabbos. If Yom Tov falls after the Shabbos on Sunday, they are baked on Friday. Necholos Yom Tov l'shloisha, when they are eaten on Yom Tov, that is the 3rd day from the time they were baked. Okay, so if it's eaten on Shabbat, it's the 2nd day from the time it was baked. If it's eaten on Sunday, then it's the 3rd day. So they say the same thing about the shtei halechem, that they do not override Shabbat or Yom Tov. So that's why they have to be prepared before Yom Tov. Rav Mari concludes this challenge. Now, if you say that the needs of the Shabbos may be prepared on Yom Tov, the Shabbos Yom Tov Shori, since it is permitted to prepare the needs of the Shabbat on Yom Tov, the Yom Tov Yom Tov Mibaile, if there is any question that one is permitted to prepare the need, is there any question that one is permitted to prepare the needs of Yom Tov on Yom Tov?
No.
If you are, it should, yeah, right, it's a kal v'chomer. If I'm allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Shabbat, how much more so I'm allowed to prepare from Yom Tov to Yom Tov? So this Mishnah rules, however, that although the 2 loaves are used on Shavuot, they must be baked on the day before. Why are you to bake them before? Bake them on Yom Tov. Bake them on.
Okay, yeah, true.
Yeah, that's it.
So the Gemara answers Shani Osam. There is the law there regarding Shtei Halechem is different. Yama Kol Lochem. The pasuk over there says the word Lochem. What does Lochem means? Lochem v'lo legava, only for yourselves and not for offerings to the Most High. You have to eat it, which teaches that you may prepare food in Yom Tov only for yourselves and not for the offering of the Most High. So this Shtei Halechem, even though you eat it, for who is it? It's for Hashem. Hashem says, for me, don't make it on Yom Tov. For yourself, you can make. Lachem. If you want to eat on Yom Tov, you should make. But since this was designated to me,
Wow.
don't make it on Yom Tov. Make it before. I don't eat it fresh. You should eat fresh. I'm fine with it.
Day-old bread. I'm good with that.
It's not so pretty.
It's an exception for the rule.
No, it's not an exception. It's a
Special Shavuos.
it's a special teaching from the pasuk that tells you, lachem, not the gavra.
Okay.
It says, if you want to see more, it says in 17, although the shtei halechem were eaten by the Kohanim, their primary purpose was as an offering. They were an offering. So they are not included in the Torah's. So the Gemara says, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Rabbi Shimon Asgan Doiches Yom Tov. According to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, that quotes Rabbi Shimon ben Asgan, he says that Doiches Yom Tov, that the baking of the shtar lechem does override the prohibition of Yom Tov. What is he going to answer about the teaching of lochem v'lo legavoa, for yourselves and not for the Most High? So it says that Rabbi Shimon Gamliel agrees with Abba Shaul. What did Abba Shaul said? The Omar lochem, who says that when the pasuk states lochem for you, it teaches that you may prepare food on Yom Tov lochem v'lo lenochim, for yourselves and not for Gentiles, that we mentioned yesterday. You're allowed to make food for yourself on Yom Tov, but you're not allowed to make it for the goy.
Right.
So you understand different?
Yeah, so he said, what does lachem means? To you and not to the goy, not lachem v'lo legavoa.
Only the Jews.
Yeah. Only Jews, not goyim, not the teaching of lachem and not the gavoa. So therefore, even when it comes to Hashem, I'm allowed to prepare on Yom Tov.
Okay.
So according to Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, you would be allowed to bake the shtar lechem on Yom Tov. At least that's what it looks like. Sholach le Rabbi Chisda now challenges Rabba's view that we subscribe to the principle of Ho'il. Because according to Rabba, the reason why you're baking from Yom Tov to Shabbat is only because of Ho'il. It's not because you move it Avshilin. It's just because of, it's not because it's a biblical permission. It's because we say since you would be allowed to, you might have guests on Yom Tov. You prepared from Yom Tov to Shabbat, but you might have suddenly guests on Yom Tov, so it's for the guest. It's for Yom Tov.
What if you have, can you apply this principle if you say, I might have guests on Shabbos?
And then
I could bake on Yom Tov because I might have guests on Shabbos. I see, I'm out of bread.
no, but then
I have just enough for
no, he
Shabbos.
says according to Rabbah, really you're not allowed to bake from Yom Tov to Shabbos.
Right.
The only reason why you can is because you
it
might have guests on Yom Tov.
Okay.
Yeah, so just saying I might have guests on Shabbos, that still doesn't help me. And by the way, on Shabbos, like you're allowed to make a salad, right? There's certain things that we're allowed to make on Shabbos, but you're not allowed to make extra for specifically
Motzi Shabbos.
to make from Shabbos to Motzei Shabbos.
For like if someone's going to have a Shabbat brachas.
Right. So I told you the wheels started spinning only after Shabbos.
Right, before Shabbos. Probably should prepare.
No, the buying of it was
The purchasing, but the preparation.
Some things you could have made before, I don't know.
the cookies and cakes, all
Yeah,
those
that
things.
could
Yeah,
be done
the bread was baked on Motzei Shabbos, for example, or the
And,
fish,
the
the pasta, yeah, all
But
those
Rabbi,
things.
if Yom Tov it's today and tomorrow is Shabbat, you can cook for
You're going to have to do Erev Tavshelim.
to cook. Yeah.
No, we do it with Tavshilin, so it seems like we're not following Rabba's reasoning over Il. Because if we said remember we learned that we can still say O'il, and the reason why we do Il Tavshilin is just that people don't make the mistake to cook from Shabbos to a regular day. They say if I can cook from Yom Tov to Shabbos, maybe I will be able to cook from Shabbos to regular day.
Yeah, that's a big no-no.
Yes.
So to make that distinction, we did Yuv Tavshilin, but we could still follow the rule of Il. So now, Rav Chisda is now on the offensive. So far, he was on the defensive,
Yeah.
and now is challenging Rabbah. Mi amrin anoel, do we apply the principle of sins? V'atenan. Here I give you an example. We learned in a Mishnah, Yesh choyresh telem echad. There is a case of one who plows a single furrow,
Right.
and is liable on its account for transgressing 8 prohibitions. The case is as follows. How can you plow one tract of land, one furrow, and you can now incur 8 prohibitions? 8 lavin. So, number one, you are using a donkey and an ox together. Achorish b'shur chamor one.
What?
Ve'en mukdoshim, they are consecrated. The shor and chamor are consecrated. It's the wrong crowd that you took, right? The wrong.
Right.
Vechilaim bekerem, and thereby covers kilaim in a vineyard. So that's another issue. Ushvis, it was also the year of Shemitah. It happened to be the year of Shemitah. They're not allowed to do all
This
of
guy
it.
has no good luck.
Yeah, and you're doing it on Yom Tov. Shemitah and Yom Tov. And Kohen v'Nozir Abeis Tuma. And he's a Kohen and a Nozir in area of Tuma. You're plowing in a cemetery. So you are contaminating yourself.
Nazir, not going to cemetery?
It says both a Kohen and a Nozir are forbidden to become Tomeh through association with a human corpse.
Okay.
And this is this place is a cemetery. Yeah. Concerning a Kohen, the Torah says he shall not contaminate himself with a dead person among his people. Regarding a Nozir, it is written in Numbers 6:6, he shall not approach any dead person. So this person, when he plows inside the cemetery, contaminates himself with the corpses that are buried there. And since he is both a Kohen and a Nozir, transgresses of both of these prohibitions, and now he is liable to 8 sets
and
of...
the plow was stolen, that's 9. You could really take this to
I
town.
need a lot of shirts.
So Rav Chisda shows that this Mishnah contradicts
Oh, yeah.
the principle of sins. V'yamrin anoil.
32 lessons.
So now he gets to the challenge. Now Rav Chisda is challenging Rabbah. Now, if you said ho'il,
Sorry,
and
312.
if we apply the principle of sins, achareisha lo lichayv, he should not be liable for plowing on Yom Tov. Why? Since the earth that he plows up is thereby rendered fit for covering the blood of slaughtered bird. Let's see number 4. What does it mean? It says the Torah commands one who slaughters a bird or beast, an animal that is not livestock, to cover its blood with soil. So Rav Chisda asked Rabbah, if we subscribe to the principle of ha'il, sins, why does the Mishnah rule that he is liable to lashes for plowing on Yom Tov? He might subsequently come across many birds and animals that need to be slaughtered, in which case all the earth he plowed up could be used on Yom Tov to cover their blood. So since there is a chance that this will occur, the act of plowing potentially serves a Yom Tov related purpose, and therefore one should not be liable to lashes on account of it.
But you don't do this in advance.
What?
You plow a field in advance because
it's
That's
about
a-
preparing
can't find some
it's
bird
about
die.
preparing the dirt to put on the blood of the bird.
But there's no bird at this time.
But it's
But
likely it's
it's
going to happen.
possible.
bird.
It's possible that it might
You
happen.
don't do a chet because it's possible to find
No,
something.
so he says the same thing with cooking on Yom Tov. That's really the challenge of Rav Chisda to Rabbah. He says we don't apply it. We don't say oil in this case. So why do you say oil in the case of Yom Tov? I'm allowed to cook on Yom Tov for Shabbos. Maybe a guest will show up. What do you mean maybe they'll show up? Either they have guests or they're not coming. They're coming, not coming. What is it maybe? Since it's possible. He says, okay, since it's possible also that the soil he plowed will be used for covering the blood. So he proved to him. He said, see, we still get eight lavin. And we don't say oil. Amar Rav Papa Shmuel, ba'avonim mekurzolis. It says, no, in this case we would say oil, but in that specific field, with those pointed stones, which are not fit for covering the
So
blood.
who's going to plow that?
So he said, I would have said ho'il, but in this case there was avonim, those stones, so I couldn't say ho'il. Because he plowed rocks, not sand. We know we have to use soil to cover them. It's not fit to cover the blood with rocks. So the Gemara says, but 1 second, but maybe he can crush those.
Yeah, right.
Royal Chotcher.
Guys on
But
the roll.
they are fit to be crushed into fine pieces and then used for this purpose. So the Gemara asks you a question. The Gemara says,
nine.
the Gemara says, but
It says
is,
the Chaim when they were doing this.
but is crushing permitted on Yom Tov? The Gemara says, these stones are fit to be crushed in an unusual manner, because that is not biblically forbidden. It's not biblically forbidden. In the final analysis, therefore, the principle of ho'il should dictate that he is not liable for plowing these stones in Yom Tov.
And here, but we got more.
And why is he liable?
Yeah.
So the Gemara says, its first answer having been rejected, the Gemara proposes a different answer. Betsunma, the Mishnah deals with rocky ground, which cannot be crushed into fine pieces fit for covering blood. So I couldn't say ho'il because I can't deal with these rocks. I can't crush them. So the Gemara challenges the interpretation of the Mishnah. Well, Tsunma Bazriya,
I said
That
this.
was you, yeah.
Yeah,
is rocky ground fit for sowing?
nobody would do that.
Of course not. But the Mishnah speaks of ground in which seeds are sown.
Yeah, okay.
Why didn't we say that he was sowing kilayim?
Yeah, Kalayim, right?
So Tsunma Milamailo, it says the rocky ground is only on top. Ve'ofo tichoyach milamato. There is soft soil below. Ve'tipokle mishum ofo tichoyach. But then it emerges that he should not be liable for plowing on Yom Tov because the soft soil that he's thereby makes available. Such soil can be used for covering the blood of a slaughtered bird. So why don't we say ho'il, since he can use it to cover the blood, he shouldn't be liable for the eighth love. Ela amar, ela omar mar baravashi betino. The Mishnah deals with mud, which is unfit for covering blood.
It's also unfit for stone.
So the Gemara says, "Vetina barzeu," but is mud fit for sowing?
Only
The-
rice.
The Gemara says,
Sowing rice.
Right.
"Yeah, bemesunoto."
Province.
The Mishnah refers to wet mud, which is fit for sowing,
The ducks.
yet unfit for covering blood. It's fit for sowing, so it's a certain type of mud that is wet mud, fit for sowing, but unfit for covering blood. The Gemara presents another challenge to Rabba's opinion.
Wait, when you throw dirt on top of the blood from a sacrifice, it has to be dry dirt?
It has to be soil, not wet, not muddy. So in this case, it's not good enough for blood, but it's good enough for sowing. And by saying that, they're really not giving him the chance of oil. There's no sense because he did something that cannot be, that I can't give him that excuse.
Right.
I can't say, oh, but he could have used it. He can use it.
Uh-huh.
So that's why he's liable to the 8 love. Always keep it in your mind. He's trying to tell him, here, we don't use ho'il. We don't use sins. And he says, no, we would use sins. But in this case, he was digging mud. And mud cannot be used. So he told them, but how can you be digging mud if you just told me that he's using it to sow? So he said it's a type of mud that is, although it's wet, it's good for sowing, but it's not good for covering the blood.
These are Jews, right?
Wait, we got another juicy one coming.
So Eitivei, the Abaya challenged him from the following bite. Okay, this guy is also a wise guy. He cooks the sciatic nerve, the Gid Hanoshe, in milk on Yom Tov. So it's basal, becholov, and he does it on Yom Tov. And it's something that is not supposed to be cooking.
Yeah.
The oichlo, and then he eats it on top of all. He eats it. I don't know how you can eat the sciatic nerve, but he eats it, and maybe the fat that is around it. Loike chomesh. So now he's liable to 5 sets of lashes, about 196 whips, right? 5 times 40
Minus 5.
minus 5, so 195. And you can't get a round number, so 195 is you can't get a round number. That's why there's no 40. There's 3, 6, 9. So if a guy was
So in the other case with the 8 lovim, so it's 8 times 40, which is 320, minus 8 is 312. So does it become
it's 311.
311?
So that's what I was about to say, that if before they administered the lashes, they would take him for a physical examination, and the doctor would decide how much he can take. So let's say the doctor said this guy can handle he can handle 10, so they give him 9. Always they will lower it. So if he says 8, they give him 7, because it has to be an odd number. So they always reduce it 1.
So if he said he could take 9, they'd give him 9.
Yes,
Why did it this one number?
because it cannot be an even number. It says, Torah says 40 chaser achat, missing 1. So it's 39. So they go along with it. If it's 2, they'll give him 1. If it's 4, they'll give him 3. Not everyone can handle a whip. Some people would die from it. We don't want it to. The whole idea is you want him to stay alive. You want him to correct his ways. Trying to picture somebody getting.
Just doing with the
It
belt.
was in front of people, yeah?
Yeah.
Embarrassing.
With the
Embarrassing,
stock.
yeah.
Like in New England, you know, with the stocks. Putting the stock in
So this guy that
They
they
throw
cooked.
tomatoes at him.
This guy that cooked the Gid Anoshe in milk on Yom Tov and then ate it incurs 5 sets of lashes on account of its following transgressions. What did he do? So let's break it down. Loker mishum mevashel gid b'Yom Tov. First of all, he's incurring lashes for cooking the gid, the sciatic nerve, on Yom Tov. 1. Number 2, v'loker mishum eichel gid, and he incurs lashes for eating the Gid Anoshe. The one is cooking, one is eating. Number 3, v'loike mishum avashel basar v'cholav, incurs lashes for cooking meat in milk. Number 4, v'loike mishum eichel basar v'cholav, and he is getting lashes for eating meat with cooked, that was cooked in milk, right? Not just eating the Gid Anoshe, we treat it as eating meat with milk. And v'loike mishum avor, he also made fire. So another one. Now, if we say ho'il, that's the challenge of Al-Chizda to Rabbah, that's where the challenge kicks in, and he says, if we apply the principle of ho'il, avor lo lichayv, we should not be liable for lighting the fire on Yom Tov. Why? Because ho'il, the chazil eletzoko. Since he had the ability to use the fire in a proper way. He could use the fire that he lit on Yom Tov to cook kneidlach, to cook kugel,
Regular meat.
regular food.
This is the defense attorney speaking.
Yeah. Amarle ape kavoro ve'al Gid Anoshe nevelu. Remove the transgression of lighting a fire from the Brisa's list, and instead insert in its place the transgression of eating the Gid Anoshe of nevela. So it's not just the Gid Anoshe, it's also Gid Anoshe of nevela. So it's a double wamu.
Whammy. Double whammy.
Rammy.
Whammy.
Whammy.
W-H-A-M-M-Y.
Double whammy.
What is what?
An English teacher will tell you.
It's a problem.
Problem.
It's a problem. A double whammy is like a double problem.
Okay.
So, Vatani Rabbi Chia taught the above Braita as follows. The Rabbi Chia said like this. It's a different breakdown. Loikenstein lachil, also 2 sets of lashes for eating the Gid Anoshe. V'sholish al bishulo, and 3 sets for cooking. 3 sets of lashes for cooking. Ve'i iso, and if it is true that, as you maintain, that the Braita refers to Gid Anoshe of a nevela, it should have been 3 for eating and 3 for cooking. It should have been taught by Rabbi Chia that 3 sets of lashes are incurred on account of eating it. So there's no way that we are dealing with a case where he cooked and ate the Gid Anoshe of nevela, because Rabbi Chia did not mention 3 for eating. He only mentioned 3 for cooking. He said 2 for eating. So, rather remove the transgression of lighting fire on Yom Tov and insert instead the transgression of using wood that is muktzeh. What does it mean? What does it mean? Wood that is muktzeh. It says the term muktzeh literally means set aside from use. The law of muktzeh states that one is prohibited to use objects on the Shabbos or Yom Tov that were not prepared for use beforehand. Under rabbinic law, one may not even move such objects. So it says the Baita refers to one who kindled wood that was not expected to be used on Yom Tov. He is therefore liable to lashes for transgressing the prohibition of muktzah.
But you could take this as far as you want. You could say he also went outside the tchum. Maybe he walked where there wasn't an erev. You know.
Yeah, you can always try to add more to it, but the Baita is speaking about a specific case. So they're trying now to.
Yeah, but they're taking away one and
they're
adding a
trying to
different one.
deviate from the case. So that's why the Gemara says, but how can you deviate from the case and add nevela into the picture if Rabbi Chia didn't mention it in his description, in his breakdown, he didn't mention nevela. So they said, okay, maybe he didn't mention nevela, but maybe the wood was maybe he meant muktzah. So the Gemara will say, muktzah deoraisa, muktzah is not deoraisa. And is the ban against muktzah is biblical origin, so that one would be liable to lashes, because we only liable to lashes for something that is deoraisa. Amar lei, ein, yes, it is biblical. Muktzah is biblical in origin. That's what Abaya says. Edichtiv, we said in Parashat B'Shalach, the Parashat of the Man, it says, "Ve'oya b'yom hashishi ve'echinu es asher aviu." For it is written, on the sixth day they shall prepare what they bring. They would prepare the man for Shabbos, the extra portion. V'azorosei me'ocho, and its prohibition is from here. Milo isaser chol melocho. It says in 26, a negatively phrased commandment, you shall not, for example, you shall not, unless it is banned by such a commandment, a transgression does not carry the penalty of lashes. So meaning, if you don't have, in order to be liable to lashes, you have to have loy tase. It has to be said, don't do, clearly. Loy tase chol melacha. You shall not do any melacha.
And we don't have this pasuk.
It says regarding the man, Hashem is telling them, you should prepare it on the sixth day. And then loy tase chol melacha. And it says, don't do any work.
The second part of it.
The preceding applies to Yom Tov as well, since it is referred to as Shabbat. So it says, Abaya object that this is inconsistent with a ruling reported by Rabbi himself. Amar lei veho to the Omar, but you are the one who once said, I asked Rav Chisda, and others say that Abaya quoted Rabbi as saying, I asked Rav Huna. Either way, Rabbi question ran as follows. We're going Evi se me afar ushchote tomid b'yom tov ma.
Here you go, your stuff.
If one brought a sheep from a distant pasture and slaughtered it as a tomid offering on Yom Tov, what is the law? So it says communal oila sacrifice. In 28 it says the communal oila sacrifice, which was offered on the altar twice every day, including the Shabbos and Yom Tov, once in the morning and once in the evening. Now, since the sheep was in a distant pasture, it certainly was not intended for slaughter on Yom Tov. It was not designated for the Korban Atomid. It was not intended for slaughter on Yom Tov, and as such is muktzah. So Rabbah inquired whether a muktzah sheep is valid as a sacrifice. That was his question. And you, Rabbah, said to us, Omar li alo, he Rav Chisda or Rav Huna answered me regarding this question by quoting a brisa that expounds the pasuk, and one sheep from the flock out of 200, and one sheep from the flock out of 200 from the banquet of Israel. Each term serves to define what can be consecrated as an offering as follows: Se veloi ha-bechor, a sheep, and not a bechor. 31 says a bechor is the firstborn male of a cow, a sheep or a goat. It is given to a kohen who brings the offering. So the word "se" sheep includes both males and females, but specifying sheep, the pasuk excludes animals which belong to the groups that are exclusively male. From here we derive that a bechor, which by definition is male, is disqualified for use as another offering. Okay, so se v'lo bechor achas v'lo ma'aser, an animal that is one and not an animal designated as ma'aser. Minatzoin v'lo palgas, from the flock and not palgas. Palgas is a special terminology that used for in between time, which means, look at 33, it says the word from implies that only part of the flock is acceptable as an offering. This is taken as excluding a palgas, which is a sheep in its 13th month. If it's 13 months old, it has this name, palgas. A male sheep in its first 12th month is termed keves, lamb. Beyond 13 months of age is called an ayil, and during its 13th month is referred to as palgas. So we have keves, we have palgas, and we have ayil.
We see this every Shabbos.
But they're both shepsels, they're both keves.
Right.
But
And the new stuff, we bring in the sacrifices.
so minamatime, and the phrase out of 200 teaches that the wine for nesachim may be drawn from the excess of 200 parts of wine that remains in the vat. From here we derive that orla wine is nullified when it's mixed with in 200 parts of permitted wine. The next phrase from the banquet of Israel teaches that the wine for nesachim, the wine for the libations, must be drawn from that which is permitted to Israel. From here we learned that we may not bring nesachim, we should not bring libations whose wine is from tevel grapes. We'll continue, God willing, tomorrow. Learn halacha.
One thing about myself, if I go a little slower, I appreciate that doing the sacrifices, and during the Gemara, and then during the davening, I get something out of it more than I usually do. But I know it's still not like whatever.
When a Jew tells a goy to perform a forbidden labor for him on Shabbos, okay, you're not allowed to do it. You ask the goy to do it for you. It is permitted for the Jew to benefit from that activity on Saturday night, meaning Motzei Shabbos. But on Shabbos itself, since you violated, since you told them
Cook this piece of meat for me?
to do something, cook something that you were not allowed to do on Shabbos. So now you have to wait. You have to you can benefit from it on Saturday night after waiting the amount of time necessary to perform that activity. So let's say, like the example that you said, to cook a piece of meat. Assuming you would have to do it, it would take you half an hour. So you have to wait an extra half an hour Motzei Shabbos until you
5 minutes per side, that's it.
5 minutes per side. It doesn't make a difference what
Rare,
type.
Nice and rare.
Not rare, provided the matter is not public knowledge, as will be explained. So now, with regard to an activity performed by a non-Jew, see, if it's not public knowledge, meaning you told the goy in private. If you told the goy, but if you did cause chilul Hashem, meaning you did it in public, with regard to an activity performed by a non-Jew on his own initiative for the sake of a Jew, consult that source. There are authorities who differ. But so far, the halacha that we said that you're allowed to benefit, it's called Kedei Shiasu, giving the time that it would take to do it, that's only when it was done in private. and we'll see what's going to happen if he says it in public, God willing, tomorrow. We'll continue.
They got a new variant.
No, good.
The South